Hey y'all, welcome to Restless Chipotle Kitchen. Today we are making a fan favorite around here, and that is cheeseburger pot pie with a puff pastry crust. It is so easy, it is so good, and it is done in probably less than 30 minutes. Let's take a look. Oh y'all, I have to tell you that this onion has got some power to it. It's got my eyes watering like crazy. I can hardly see, so if I sound like I'm sniffling, it's because of this. So what you're going to need for this recipe is a big white onion chopped. And this one, I weighed it, was 11.5 ounces. It kind of depends on how much you like onion. I would say this is about 2 cups. You could get away with 1 cup, or you could leave it out if you really wanted to, but it would have a big impact on the flavor. You want 2 pounds of lean ground beef. I like to use 90-10 because that way I can do everything in the same pan and I don't have to drain it, because very little fat, if any, comes off. But you do you. If you want to use an 80-20 or an 85-15, you're probably going to have to drain some fat. Water, cheese, pickle relish, either sweet or dill. This one happens to be sweet. Salt, bouillon, what do they call that? This, better than bouillon, right? I'm using this today. The other thing you could do would be, instead of using the water and the bouillon, you could use a can of condensed French onion soup. That would be delicious. I was kind of hoping I had one for this, but I was out. So we're using the bouillon and the water. Salt, I think I said cheese, and frozen puff pastry, which has been thawed overnight in the fridge. Don't thaw your puff pastry on the counter. Always put it in the refrigerator the night before you're going to be ready to use it, so it's nice and thawed when you're ready to use it. And keep it in the refrigerator until you are ready to use it in your recipe. So this is going to go back in the refrigerator before we get started. Okay, first thing we're going to do is put our ground beef in the pan, and actually, since this is so lean, I'm going to spray it with a non-stick cooking spray. Put our ground beef in the pan and add the onions. And then we're just going to brown this, and I think my ground beef is still a little bit frozen. I order it from a company, and when it gets here, it's frozen, and I thought I had this all thawed out, but I think it's still a little bit frozen. Anyway, we're going to brown the ground beef and the onions. A little piece of onion peel in there. We're going to brown the ground beef and the onions, and that's going to be our first step. So y'all know how to do this. I'm not going to make you sit here and watch it for 20 minutes. I'll see you as soon as this is cooked. Okay, the meat's all cooked, and the onions are tender. I'm turning the heat down to the lowest setting. Everything's cooked, so there's no reason to have a lot of heat on here. And now what we're going to do is add the beef broth, or actually beef stock, or if you used French onion soup, now would be the time to add it. And one of the things that I do when I'm using beef stock in that better than bouillon, I make it double. Okay, so I haven't put salt in it up to this point, and the reason is because some of these ingredients can be really salty, so I taste it right before I put it in the oven, and then I adjust the salt then. So we're going to get that all mixed in. That's going to keep the meat moist. Okay, it doesn't really have a gravy to it. You'll see, it's delicious. Now I'm going to put the relish in, either sweet or dill, whatever your preference is. Sounds like my oven's ready. I'm going to add pepper because I know I'm going to want that. And then I'm going to take a quick taste just to check the salt situation. That's going to need a touch more salt. And I'm using kosher salt. I'm just going to give it a sprinkle. And when you taste it, maybe you want more onion flavor, so you're going to put onion powder in there. Or maybe you want a little garlic flavor in there, so you're going to add a little garlic. Or if you like things spicier, you might want to add crushed red peppers. This would be the time to do that. Make it your own. Make it the way that your family likes their cheeseburgers. You could add ketchup at this point. You could add a little barbecue sauce at this point. You could add some mustard. So when you get done adding everything you're going to add, now we want to put a layer of cheese on top. I'm going to use most of this cheese, but I'm going to save out just a little bit to put on the top of the crust, just to make it a little pretty. And I like to stir some of the cheese in to the meat a little bit. You may not want to do that, or you may want to do that. That's totally up to you. Now I'm going to put the rest of the cheese on top and pat it down a little bit. Make it even as possible. Now I'm going to get my puff pastry sheet and I'm going to lay it right on top. Now I have rolled this out so that it pretty much covers my cheeseburger pot pie, but yours may be different. And honestly, if you prefer to do it in a casserole dish, you could roll this out to cover the whole thing. But I just kind of like it rustic like this, so I'm just going to fold these corners under. And then I am going to pop this in the oven, and we'll see in about 20 to 30 minutes how we did. But not before I put the cheese on the top. All right, here we go. And I'll see y'all back here in about 20 minutes. Well, y'all, this just came out of the oven. I'm gonna let it cool a little bit and settle in. But it's just, I think it's just beautiful. I like the crispy crust and the puffiness of it and the crispiness of the cheese that I topped it with. If you would like the cheese on the top to be gooier, then you could put it on right before you took it out of the oven. What I'm probably gonna do is grab some green onions and sprinkle them on top. In fact, that's exactly what I'm gonna do. I'll be right back. I think things always look better with a little garnish on them, so I'm just gonna drop some green onions on the top, and there it is. There's our cheeseburger pot pie. Now, I would let it set for about 5 to 10 minutes just so the cheese can come together and the meat can come together, and it's not so messy getting it out of the pan. All right, it's had a chance to set a little bit. You know this isn't going to come out of the pan in slices like a pie, right? It's going to, whew, that's hot. It's going to come out like a casserole. Trying to move this without burning my fingers off. And so we're going to get a nice piece of the crust with all that beefy goodness underneath it. Whew. And it looks so good. There's that cheese. And all of the onions. And there it is. There is our cheeseburger pot pie. Well, y'all, this is so good. The puff pastry is so puffy. The meat is so yummy. Lots of onion flavor. Lots of cheesy goodness. And I love a puff pastry crust. The one thing you need to be aware of is you're going to want to make this and eat it. The puff pastry is going to get soggy over, like if you keep it till the next day, it's going to be kind of soggy. So it's great for potlucks. It's great for family meals. Not so great for making too far ahead. If you do want to make it ahead, you can make the filling part and then put the puff pastry on just before baking and pop it in the oven, and it's done in like 20 minutes, okay? I am so glad you were here today. I appreciate the time that you spend with me and the emails and the comments and all of the things. Don't forget, the recipe is below. You just probably need to scroll down to it. And I think you're going to love it. I think your family's going to love it. Let me know what you think. And I will talk to y'all next week. Love y'all. Bye-bye.